All right. So on the last episode of Locked On Avalanche, we looked at the free agent centers, and today we will be looking at the free agent right wingers. Are there any out there that can come in and help make this Avalanche team any better? New episode, Locked On Avalanche, coming at you.
Your Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of Locked On Avalanche. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Chris Maselli. With me, as always, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. Thank you for tuning in, making it your first listen of the day. That's always appreciated. Make sure to follow us on our social media outlets, LOPN_Avalanche on Twitter, Locked On Avalanche on Instagram. Questions, comments, concerns, and opinions, lockedonavalanche@gmail.com. And follow us over on our YouTube channel. Over on YouTube, hit subscribe, get notified when a new show goes live. And why not subscribe to our subtext? Link to that is in the show notes below. And when you subscribe, you can talk to Kyle and I one-on-one. Fun stuff going on over there. So what do we got today, sir? We have Samuel Girard and his grade. And we are hoping to kind of touch on what's going on in Arizona. And I mean, they're a division rival. Will they be if relocation is in their future? We don't know right now, but it's how we said like this offseason is going to be an interesting one. That goes for several teams. That's not exclusive to the Avalanche, right?
Yeah, we haven't even got to the offseason.
We haven't yet. Technically, we have not yet, right? So, but where we're going to start today is that we're kind of making our way through unrestricted free agents by position. And the other day we did the centers and we asked the question, is there a center in the free agent market that could kind of take that 2C spot, which is so wide open for the Avalanche right now? And I think we're all in agreement that we're more comfortable of someone taking the 2C in the form of a trade because the center market doesn't seem that strong where someone could come in and take that spot. The same is kind of true for wingers for the Avalanche. When you have as many unrestricted free agents as the Avs have, there's going to be guys leaving and guys coming in. So you are going to have, I mean, you're going to be signing free agents regardless. Where they slot in is the question. So for the Avs right now, here's your wingers under contract for next season. Mikko Rantanen, Val Nichushkin, question mark next to his name, Arturi Lehkonen, Logan O'Connor. That's it.
Wait a minute, there's has to be more names, Chris.
There is not more name unless you're going into your
Curtis
Colorado
McDermott.
Eagles. Maybe the biggest asterisk next to that name for a forward, but I get what you're saying. But there's not a lot. Yeah. There's not a lot. So taking a look at the free agents in terms of right wingers, you have some decent names on here. So the last time we talked about it with the centers, we kind of went by their cap hit from last year. And I started with anybody that was over $5 million. I'll do the same with that. You know what? Yeah, I'll do the same with that. So here's your right wingers who made $5 million or more last year. You have Patrick Hornqvist. You have Gustav Nyquist. A lot of Quists going on. Kyle Okposo, Vladimir Tarasenko, and Patrick Kane. So those are your right wingers who made the most money. And just not just designated to those guys.
It's almost blasphemous to say, but you see them a lot with how the Avalanche play. And a name that's always stood out to me, even though he's not like putting up incredible numbers, Oscar Sundqvist of Minnesota. You're not asking a lot out of a winger for the Avalanche. And when Colorado has played Minnesota, he's a good equivalent like he doesn't blow you away with his stats, but he is just consistent. And I think the Avalanche need just some consistency. If you're going to come in to Colorado, if you could just come in and just fill a role, then your job is made. And that's exactly what Colorado needs for you and to build upon. Because honestly, looking at the centers and looking at the wings, and we'll be looking at other positions, you're starting to see like it's thin in that regard, and you just need something to get through, build around, and try and get to a certain point where you can really make some moves.
I mean, there's I always like to see on social media, what people throw out there, and everybody has their reasoning why they're throwing out guys,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I saw some people feeling like the Avalanche need to get a little bit more physical.
Mm-hmm.
And so the name that I've seen not a lot of, but you see it anyway, and it's Corey Perry. And I'm like, I don't know if that's the route the Avalanche. I think Corey Perry kind of grew on me over the past couple years.
Yeah.
He 4 years plus ago, he was just one of those like annoying players. And I think as he's gotten older, he's kind of gotten away from that a little bit. And I wonder if it's because like his age, if he gets into, scrums as much as he used to, he might break a hip.
Yeah.
And he might need like hip replacements. So he doesn't play that way anymore. And that's that was his style of game for a long time. So I don't know, but he's approaching 39 years old. He just turned 38 years old. So here we are again with all the guys that seem like they would be good fits for the Avalanche 5 years ago aren't anymore because of the age factor. I don't think they want to go down that road. He wouldn't cost you anything.
Yeah, that's true. That's kind of why I went with Sundqvist too, because you always want to keep the dollar sign amount like in the back of your mind. But like I've also seen the Corey Perry stuff, and yes, he would have fit with this team 4 or 5 years ago. And if you take Corey Perry, that means you're not getting the cup. That's just how it goes.
Let's see. Sundqvist is he's 29 now. I made 2.75 last year. That's not a horrible idea, man.
It's not a lot, and he for his production and what he can add to whatever line you put him on. I feel like that's a good. You mentioned Band-Aid player. That's a cheap Band-Aid that you will feel it's somebody you can rely on.
I think with a lot of the wingers, I'm just looking at their production from last year. In terms of points, Patrick Kane leads the unrestricted right wingers in points, 57 points in 73 games. Next is Tarasenko, 50 points in 69 games. Daniel Sprong, there's a guy who really kind of arrived this year with Seattle. 46 points in 66 games played, and he made a whopping $750,000 last year. He could be a guy that's third most. That's third most for wingers, and he made minimum. So he could be a guy that's looking for, and how old is, and he's 27. He's going into his 27. So expect a big increase from him. Is that something that's too rich for the Avalanche? Depends on how much he wants. That's going to be an interesting one to watch.
And you want to keep an eye on the Western Conference Finals because Evgeny Dadonov for Dallas is also going to be up next year. And
he is.
He's annoying. Everything you want out of Corey Perry, it's there. Everything you've been wanting out of like a Tarasenko, it's cheaper with Dadonov. I think that would be, if you want to solve your problems by throwing money at something, I think Dadonov will be your problem solver.
Yeah.
But is that something you want to commit to? And what does the term look like? That's the question. But if Dallas keeps churning through the playoffs, his price is going up.
Yeah. And everybody else after that, after those top three, Production wise from last year, it's all kind of depth pieces. Phil
Yep.
Kessel's the next one on there. He played all 82 games, no surprise there. But he only had 36 points and on a good Vegas team.
Yeah.
So, and he's getting up there in age too. So you don't really expect much from him. I feel like if the Avalanche wanted him, they would have got him last year.
Yeah.
Well, he's not someone I really have on my radar. Jesper Fast is on that. 80 games played, 29 points. Kyle Okposo, 75 games played, 28 points. So everything else, I'm trying to go down the list and see if there's just that one guy that didn't play because of injury. And maybe they can, get him. Maybe teams are giving up on him because he was injured and don't really have much confidence they can bounce back. I don't see anybody on here that can do that.
You
So
could
it's
take
very, very top heavy.
You can roll the dice on Pierre Engvall. 27.
Those are big dice. Those are Price is Right dice.
Yeah, those are Pierre Engvall. A lot of teams have kind of tried and given up. You can give the Avalanche can fix him routine, but it's an option. I
mean, and for the Avalanche, obviously you have Mikko, like I said, Nichushkin, but that's a question mark, and Lehkonen. Those are three good wingers if they're all there, with Nichushkin. Yeah. And then O'Connor's under contract. You hope they can bring someone back like Evan Rodriguez. So there's 5 wingers. So your top is kind of good. If you can bring someone like Evan Rodriguez back and maybe Alex Newhook improves a little bit, your top wingers are okay. So maybe you are looking for those middle of the range guys when it comes to free agency and your middle to bottom 6 guys, with the possibility that you could bump them up if need be.
Yeah.
Guys like, if you're bringing back Eller or something like that.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Another interesting aspect when it comes to the Avalanche and this offseason when it comes to free agents and wingers, because they're going to be signing free agents. Like I said in the beginning, they're going to be signing them. Where do they slot in is the big question. So, all right. Ahead we have Sam Girard and his grade. Very interesting grade here for Samuel Girard in terms of the social media and the percentages. And you'll see what I mean in a second. But first, we're going to talk about Birddogs, and this is Kyle. Kyle's loving the fact that we signed on with Birddogs because we got our shorts in the mail the other day. And I'll tell you what's going on for what I am looking forward to. I told you I'm looking forward to being able to wear the same pair of shorts. If I have a busy day where I'm playing a round of golf with my uncle and then have a nice dinner date with my wife, and then I can just come home and we're building a brand new deck right on the other side of this wall right here. We're building a brand new deck, which should be done in the next week or two. And I can go out at the end of the day and hang out. I can do all 3 of those things and not have to change my pair of shorts because this is Birddogs to a T.
Yep. I went to my son's concert tonight, his 5th grade concert, came home, lounged around the house, got some things done. Guess what? Shorts, perfectly fine. My Birddogs, they're good. They're good to go. You know what? Yeah. I have 2 pair. Throw these in the wash, put on my other pair tomorrow, rinse, wash, repeat. I'm never changing shorts.
They're made out of an impressive, stretchy, comfortable fabric, and you can get them with either a liner or a without a liner. That's that liner right there. Yeah, it's almost like some extra support, if you know what I mean, in there. So I'm sure. Did you get some people hey, you got some Birddogs on there, Mr. Sullivan?
I've had some people ask me about what these are and what they're made out of, and I've been spreading the word of Birddogs.
Yeah, they're fantastic. The 3 things that Birddogs are known for are the fit, incredibly good fit, the comfort is unmatched, and the versatility. We kind of just spelled all 3 of those things out for you. And yet another amazing thing right now, you can go to birddogs.com/LockedOnNHL. And when you use the promo code LockedOnNHL, they will throw in a free custom Birddogs Yeti style tumbler with every order. There it is right there. If you're watching on the tube, and the stamped, I don't know why I love that. That's a company that is looking at all the fine details. if you ask me. So
it shows in their products. I promise you.
it's a game changer. So go to birddogs.com right now, put in that promo code Locked On NHL, get some great shorts or pants, and get a free Yeti tumbler. What's the not like about that deal? Come on now. All right, let's turn over to Mr. Samuel Girard and get his grade of the season. Once again, we do these every Monday, Wednesday, Friday on those episodes that we're doing when those episodes are out. So those days before, go to one of these social media pages that we're on, and you can take part in the vote. Let's throw it up for Sammy G. There they are. Interesting percentages for the social media.
Hey, the first one that you're negative.
YouTube. No, I gave a C+ to Byram.
Oh, that's true.
I did, yeah. So YouTube gave Sammy G a B by 55%, Instagram 52% B, and Twitter 71% B. So there is a big. Normally, these are kind of in line with the social media and the percentages.
Is it Twitter where we were trying to trade Sammy all year long?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Let's get rid of him and go get a 2C. He's so bad, we can get a 2C for him somehow. I don't know how that's possible, but almost a 20-point difference between Instagram and Twitter. They both gave him a B, but those other grades were a lot closer on Instagram and even on YouTube. And this was the first one where there was a lot of votes for all three or all four options on social media. He had votes for A, obviously B, C, and then D and F. Some, the Sammy G haters came out and voted for that. You went with a flat B, like the rest of social media, and why'd you go that route?
Career year for Samuel Girard.
He did. As much as people wanted to hate on him, the most points he's had in his career.
Yeah, and he was effective.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt more like, you remember when Samuel Girard was in the running for the Norris?
I definitely do.
For that little burping time,
mm-hmm.
where it felt like Sammy G saw the game of hockey 2 steps before everybody else. Almost had Cale Makar vision. It felt like Sammy G this year was kind of getting back to that in moments. He didn't string it together for a full game. There was not a full Sam Girard dominating game. But there were really good moments all year long from Samuel Girard. And it's one of those things that you really want to see where you can build on next year, because last year the injury shortened what we were going to get because he was catching fire at the right time.
Right.
And then he went out with a rib injury and that was cut short. And he's starting to build that back. I'm very excited to see what the future holds for him if he's still a member of the Avalanche next year.
Exactly right. Took the words right out of my mouth. I thought he ended the year on a high note. I thought his playoff against Seattle was great. I thought he was one of the best defensemen on the team during that series, and it showed what he's capable of doing in terms of pushing, transitioning from defense to offense. He's always going to be undersized. So, but I don't feel like he gets pushed around as much as the Sammy Girard haters want to believe. Like he mixes it up as best as he can with the size that he has. And he just disrupts guys. He's not going to lay guys out. Although he had some really nice hits in that Seattle game. And I'm okay with his offensive abilities, which are not like over the moon. They're not Cale Makar, like, obviously they're not Bowen Byram, like, but he can put in some offensive numbers and be a force. He was the second, I shouldn't say a force. It's not like he's, taking games over, but you have to kind of know where he is, because he's not afraid to shoot the puck.
No,
he's got a pretty good slap shot. He'll take a shot from the outside, and he just wants to get a puck towards the net. And just if he gets a deflection or something like that, then he knows what he's supposed to do out on the ice. And he's never a big scoring machine, as you can see there, including the playoffs, 6 goals on the year, 33 assists. He only had 2 assists total in the playoffs. But I wasn't looking at that for the playoffs. I was just looking at, like, he's not turning the puck over. He's having good zone exits. He's having good zone entries. I thought he played well. Now, it was a little bit of a struggle for him during the regular season, but you saw the improvement as the season went on. So I'm with you, man. I want to know how next year goes for him. He's got to be feeling confident that he ended the season on a good note. And if he is with the Avalanche next year, and that is an if, we keep saying the Avalanche have to get creative, and we've said ever since the season ended, he might be a guy that's on the trading block to free up some space and bring in that 2C guy that we keep talking about. It could be that guy. If he's not, and he's still with the Avalanche, I want to see how Sam Girard starts next year, because he ended this last year 2 thumbs up. I'm still giving him a C+ on the season, because it was the okay did not outweigh the end of the year. And for most of the season, he was just okay. He gets propped up a little bit for the postseason. That's why I give him a C+.
And I'm optimistic for next year, because the way the season ended with Josh Manson in his play hitting the basement, Sam Girard stopped being the fall guy for everything. Everything Sam Girard did positive, it was a no but. Anything Sam Girard did, well, he did this, no, but he also did this. That went away because Josh Manson was taking all the flack. And then you started to appreciate Sam Girard. So going into next year, knowing that everybody's going to be laser focused on Josh Manson and what he's going to be doing, maybe Sam Girard can start stringing together more shifts, more games, start putting things together and start streaking a little bit. And then we could really build some confidence in Sam Girard that we haven't seen in about 2 or 3 years now.
Yeah. And like you said, like he had the most points in his career for a regular season, 37, which is 3 more than he had in 2019 and 2020 at 34 in that season. I find, like, the plus minus, I love the plus minus police. And I've always said this, when it doesn't benefit you, like, you don't care about it.
Yeah.
And when it benefits your argument, you'll focus in on it.
Absolutely.
And for him, it's a minus 14 over the course of the full season. I think, let me see where it says, during the regular season, he was a minus 10. So he was a minus 4 in the postseason. And that's just, like, you always have to take plus minus with a grain of salt. And I pay attention to it, but it just right there, like, he was a minus 4 in the postseason. And here everybody is talking about how great postseason he had. And it's not because of the plus minus. Plus minus is a fluky stat. It doesn't tell the entire story. And there's a perfect example of it. Yep. So, but I love the plus minus people focus in on that with Sam Girard. And for other people, they'll explain it away. Be like, it doesn't matter that much.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. But, and for his time on ice, you think the Avalanche aren't sold on Sammy G? Let me see what he had. His time on ice. So I think I put what's up there is 2032. I think that's wrong because it went up a little bit in the playoffs. It's actually 2130. And for the last 4 years, he's averaged at least 21 minutes of ice time. And in 2020 and 2021, it was 23 minutes of ice time. So the Avalanche have faith in this guy. They're not going to put him out there for 21 minutes plus year in and year out if they don't feel like he's a part of this team. And we have always said, if he's not going to be part of this team, it's going to be a business decision, not on how he's playing. And that could be the case for this year. We have to wait and see.
And I mean, look at that, 83 games played, averaging that amount of time on ice. I think we kind of take advantage of that and get a little comfortable with that, especially after the season we had with the injuries, that all that ice time, we're just out there throwing tomatoes at him and just throwing our hate and not appreciating what he actually brings in consistency and reliability to the ice.
Yep. So there you go. There's Sammy G and his grade. Let me see who I should prepare for this better. And then what
see after
who's up next? Who do you think it is? Take a guess on who it is after Sammy G. Well, see, this is where we get into options again. Like, it's technically Darren Helm. We're not going to do Darren Helm.
Then Hudon?
No. Brad Hunt is after that.
Ah,
How many games did Hunt play this last
I want to
year?
say like 21, 22.
He played 47 games for the Avalanche in
What?
2022, 2023. So there you go. So he's getting a grade.
Brad Hunt,
Brad
baby.
Hunt is up next. Imagine that. So, all right, there's Sammy G's grade on the season. All right, last bit of business that we want to get to is we do want to discuss what's going on over in Arizona. They are a division friend. We're not going to call them a division foe today because we want to step on them while they're down. So they're a division friend right now. And I talked about this with Adam on the national show yesterday, and he wasn't surprised by this, by the vote. In if you don't know quickly, like the city of Tempe voted on a brand new entertainment district, including a new arena for the Coyotes to be built, thousands of jobs, $1 billion of revenue coming in. They voted it down. So now the future of the Arizona Coyotes in Arizona is very much up in the air. They are playing in the Arizona State Arena, which they said they were going to do for 3 years. So we know that they're not moving at least for next year. But the fact of them moving is a very real possibility right now. Adam said he was not surprised by the result of the vote. I said I was, because I thought, a professional sports team is a commodity these days. You don't see cities not take to their professional sports franchises anymore. And for them to vote this down, it did surprise me a little bit. I have to be honest.
Well, I also see how they treat the Diamondbacks around that area. They don't.
What? Because I don't really follow.
If you're not showing out, like they have the Suns out that way, there's not a lot of support for the Phoenix Suns. The Cardinals, you often forget the Arizona Cardinals
You don't
exist.
see a lot of support for them either.
So and honestly, let's be real here. Like, I love the Yotes, love their jerseys. They have like against Seattle, they have the Kachina is one of the best looks in hockey. But to constantly be reminded that your team is a joke and that you're playing in a college arena, and it's always the Yotes can't do anything right. They're always losing all these games, and they made Wayne Gretzky look like he didn't know what he was doing as a coach. Like,
yeah,
it's hard to get fired up for that.
And that's kind of where I went with it. Was I think the people in Arizona kind of feel like we've been doing this for 25 years or whatever it is right now. This isn't like a brand new franchise, or you just moved to Arizona and this is within the first 10 years. Like this, we know we have, like, you're not giving us a reason to get excited about the team.
Yeah.
Sure, this entertainment district, that's exciting, but we want to see a good team. And you haven't proven that to it. Like, you can show us a team. Maybe every once in a blue moon, you get those crazy seasons where they exceed expectations and they make the playoffs, but it's not a consistent year after year that they're making the playoffs. And I think fans are just like, why are we going to put, even though it was going to be privately funded, it was not coming out of taxpayer money. That's the crazy part.
Yeah.
It wasn't going to cost them anything. It was all private. And they still said no. It's crazy. It's very crazy, very interesting.
And it can't. No, this goes for all like the super hockey historians here, and it probably doesn't feel good that the new Winnipeg Jets are having a much better time at things than the original Winnipeg Jets are in their time in Arizona, which honestly has been paved with gold and had every opportunity for it to flourish, and it just hasn't. So it has to be rough.
And this is Gary Bettman's baby. He, for some reason, he just won't let this one die. In some way, I get it. I hate seeing like teams move around, but it would be funny if the former Arizona Thrashers who went to Winnipeg get the old Winnipeg team that went to Arizona goes cross country. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that screws up the divisions too much. I think Houston's a very real possibility if they do choose to relocate. I am not sold that that's going to happen.
Houston has a hockey history as well.
What's that?
I said Houston has a hockey history as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
They have
definitely.
they used to be the Houston Arrows out there.
I
So
think if Gary Bettman has shown us anything, it is that he wants his team to stay there.
yeah.
So I think they will not leave one stone unturned to try to remain in Arizona. So maybe, but the team just has to get better. You can't be that Swiss bank account for every team anymore. You can't. You got to stop doing. At some point, you can't just keep having these rebuilds. At some point, you need to start a rebuild and stick with it, and not give up on the process after 2 or 3 years. And
You
that's
know,
what just they keep doing over and over and over again.
and I mentioned it to you before we even went and recorded the show. It should tell you something that Ryan Reynolds and Snoop Dogg and everybody is bidding on the Senators, and nobody is bidding on Arizona.
Well, I mean, Arizona hasn't really said that they're up for sale yet. But
No,
if they
it's
do, like, I mean, if they move, I wonder if the ownership will eventually sell it.
I'm
And
talking about just in realm of support.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
if
Oh
this
no,
goes
nobody.
down, everybody's just kind of like, oh ho hum, this is so sorry for the Yotes. Where's somebody saying, no, I'm building you an arena. This is on me. Let's pitch in. Let's do this. Like there
Well,
has not been a support and there's not a love there because nobody believes in where this team is going. There has to be a shift in mentality around this team for it to survive.
I agree with you with the support part, especially from Ryan Reynolds and Snoop Dogg. Like, well, Ryan Reynolds is Canadian, so I get the connection there. Snoop Dogg is all West Coast.
Yeah.
He's at Kings games all the time. Arizona's not that far from Los Angeles, so he could just stay on the West Coast and throw a Arizona Coyotes jersey on, and people would go crazy. But he's not doing that. He's going across the country to the cold Northeast to maybe bid on a team, which I don't think he is in on the bid. They said who the final 4 bids were. I don't know if he's part of one of those groups or not, if Snoop Dogg is, but just the fact that he had interest in that is kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. And yeah, I mean, it's different between a team that's being sold and a team that's just not getting support. But you could see maybe a little bit more. Well, maybe not, because they're both on the West Coast and they are too close to each other. So he's not going to cross those streams. But
in times like this is where you, in times like these, this is where you support your team. This is where you roll out the carpet, say, hey, if the city didn't do this, let's move you down the road. We're going to put this together. Like, you want to hear the next option. It sounds like everybody lost the war when you hear sound bites and everything. Like, fight for your team, and somebody needs to step up and fight for this team.
And the other thing that I told Adam was, I think I saw the final vote was like 29,000 for each one of the 3 propositions. It was like 29,000 and some random number. And I looked at the population in Tempe, and it's over 100,000 people. So not even a lot of people showed up to vote for this thing. So it's clearly not important to them to have a professional hockey team. And that's where Gary Bettman needs to come in and say, like, wow, the turnout for this was terrible. This is just another failed attempt to keep the team in, or build the team a new arena. It's time to pull the plug, man. It's time to, I would love for them to stay there, but it's just not being accepted.
I mean, remember, this used to be the Phoenix Coyotes, and they couldn't stay there.
You couldn't stay there. So we'll see. I mean, the off season, this is going to be one of the more entertaining off seasons for multiple reasons, on and off the ice, that we have seen in a while. So that will wrap it up for today, everybody. Thank you for tuning in and making this your first listen of the day. That is always appreciated. That'll wrap it up for the week. So we'll see you next week, where we'll get to those left wingers and then some defensemen, and hey, maybe even goalies. Why not? And make sure to check our social medias too for the vote for Brad Hunt. Crazy. Didn't think that's
the man, the myth, the legend.
Absolutely. All right, everyone. He is Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. I am Chris Maselli, and this is the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We'll see you guys next week.